I've lived in Cleveland for over 30 years.
I've been in Cleveland my whole life.
Well, I've been in this facility for about 12 years.
I've been in Cleveland 15 years.
I've been in Cleveland since the year 2000 when I came here to serve as the Dean of Trinity Cathedral. 1907, or really at the turn of the century, the bishop, who was named Bishop Leonard, who was the bishop of the Episcopal Church in the area, he said that he wanted to build a great cathedral to inspire the building of a great city. So Trinity has been a part of this city since before it really was a city.
Euclid used to be a historic federal route or a state route, US 6, and US 6 actually was an old Indian trail.
And that's why the Dunham Tavern Museum represents one of the original stagecoach stops.
I'm a volunteer at Dunham Tavern Museum. As a home, it was established by Jane Pratt and Rufus Dunham. They came from Mansfield, Massachusetts in 1819, and in 1824 it was completed. Things progressed, and Buffalo was a thriving city at the time, as was Detroit. And at that time, like it happens today, people decided to have businesses, and the stagecoach became very popular as a mode of transportation, and small runs like from Buffalo to Detroit were established. Dunham Tavern became a stopping place for the stagecoach at that time.
Cleveland played a leading role in the development of a number of second industrial revolution industries, including electric light and power, steel, petroleum, chemicals, and automobiles. With this rapidly advancing industry came financial growth and wealth. Cleveland's foremost men of wealth began to build mansions set in deep, spacious lawns.
And it was known as Millionaires Row.
People like John Rockefeller, the Hanna family, the Johnsons, as they built their manufacturing empires, many of which were based here in Cleveland, they chose to build their mansions on Euclid. Euclid Avenue historically became the residential location for a lot of the titans of manufacturing in Cleveland's history.
After the Civil War between the 1860s and 1920s, there were several industrialists that built their homes here.
Back in Rockefeller's day, if you were a prominent member of our society, you lived on Euclid Avenue.
At one point, it was reputed that 2/3 of all the millionaires in the United States had residences on Euclid Avenue.
When the car was introduced, people started to move off of Euclid Avenue and move into some of the suburban locations because it was easier to get back into Cleveland. People said, I don't want to live near my factory.
During the 50s, there were still lots of stores downtown, and that's probably where Euclid became more of a commercial center. And so people would come from the suburbs, come downtown, and it would be an event. You would come down and do your Christmas shopping here. You would come down for the holidays, and it was a big deal to come down to Cleveland, and it was quite the bustling area.
Years and years ago, there was usually only one major department store. As those department stores were replaced by other types of retailers, when they first entered markets like Northeast Ohio, they were only in downtown locations. But when the malls opened across the region, suddenly if you lived in Parma, if you lived in Westlake, or if you lived in Beechwood, you had alternatives. People started to shop where they lived. It was the change in retailing patterns that ultimately affected Euclid Avenue.
And so that caused some of the demise of Euclid Avenue. The economy really took a big dive.
There was an effort to demolish all of these buildings and make them parking spaces. Playhouse formed an organization, Playhouse Square, to save these historic buildings and civic spaces. And through their efforts, you see the results.
All of the theaters that started out as vaudeville theaters, legitimate theaters, silent picture houses, which were constructed in the early 1920s, by the late 1960s, one by one, had all closed. Fortunately, a group of visionaries got involved and said, we need to find a way to save 1, 2, or 3 of these theaters. Today we have almost 10,000 seats, 10 performance spaces, and the second largest performing arts center in the country. We present Broadway. We have 2 wonderful resident companies in the Cleveland Playhouse and in Great Lakes Theater. We also have a wonderful resident company in Dance Cleveland, a wonderful partnership with Cleveland State with the theater program.
We now have beautifully restored theaters that everyone can use.
In the early 90s, we worked with a designer to create a streetscape plan, and the idea was to create a more dynamic look to the district. We took that plan to the Planning Commission at the City of Cleveland, and they liked it so much that they wanted to incorporate it not just for Playhouse Square, but all the way down Euclid Avenue. And when the Euclid Corridor project came along, that became the vehicle to introduce all of these brick sidewalks and the advanced streetscape.
Recently, I've noticed, well, with the planners, it seems as though there are more people on Euclid Avenue than there were years ago.
We got new curbs, new sidewalks, new planters, new flower beds, new trees. All of those amenities add to the perception that Euclid Avenue is coming back, and in fact, people feel more comfortable in that type of environment.
Well, Euclid Avenue is Cleveland's main street. It's one of our most important roads.
This has been a transportation hub for many, many years.
One of the big things was to create a transit-oriented development corridor there.
In 2008, the Euclid Corridor project that connected Public Square to University Circle.
Regional Transit Authority did a fantastic job in putting in a silver class bus rapid transit system. And that has been nationally recognized as the most successful bus rapid transit system in the United States. We saw an opportunity to use the power of our anchor institutions to attract new businesses along this corridor to some of that vacant property. We've got more parkland, we've got bike lanes, we've got events, we've got all kinds of new investments in the downtown area.
All of these activities focused on downtown make living downtown an attraction.
It fronts Public Square, which in many ways is kind of the ceremonial front door of the community. There's a lot of activity on a daily basis here. I don't think we're going to feel good about ourselves, no matter whether we touch the river or we touch the lakefront, unless we correspondingly have a very vibrant Euclid Avenue. Because why? That's part of our history. And I think because of that historical basis, it's key for us.
I see more people coming from different states and different cities coming to visit.
You know, I'm willing to bet that in the next 10 years, Cleveland is going to be one of the top 10 cities in this country to live in. It's going to be a place where all the 20s, 30s want to live, as well as lots of retirees, because it's got everything. You know, it's got great art, great culture, great colleges, great universities, great hospitals, affordable cost of living, fabulous restaurants, urban farms, super parks.
It's an exciting place to live. You can walk anywhere. You can go to Playhouse Square. You can go to a baseball game, a football game. You could go into any one of our museums.
And I think you're going to see a lot of people who grew up in Cleveland, and they're going to be more like kids who grew up in Chicago and Boston and New York, and they're going to say, I want to live here, because this is a very cool city.
One of the most important things is get out the word what a great city we have here. Tell everyone and start building up Cleveland's image in the national media. It starts with each and every individual, so help us out.